It gives me great pleasure, indeed it's an absolute privilege to present to you and welcome Dr. Gary Samuelson, PhD, to this webinar to explain his findings and the correlation between autism and redox signaling molecules. Dr. Samuelson has a medical atomophysicist degree from the University of Utah and has dedicated his career and knowledge to the advancement of technology that addresses major health issues of our lifetime today. His focus is on the science of redox signaling that is now developing around the world. Dr. Samuelson is the one and only scientist that was able to what a lot of the scientific world deem impossible, to stabilize redox signaling molecules outside the body. This in itself is an amazing accomplishment, considering that these molecules take a millionth of a second to be created and used up by our human body, by our bodies. And it takes the same amount of time to be converted back to saline solution within our cells, if not required. Thanks to Dr. Samuelson and ASEA, humanity, of which we are all part of now, have trillions and trillions of redox signaling molecules stabilized in a bottle and in a gel to protect, repair, replace our cells. And in Dr. Samuelson's, how he eloquently said in a previous webinar, ASEA assists in the expressing the gene that helps the communication inside our cells. Dr. Samuelson, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you very much, Maria. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Lovely. Now, Dr. Samuelson, we've sort of been talking about autism for a long time, and I know that you've been invited to a number of conferences. And now with the latest research that we have on redox signaling molecules and how they turn our genes in our body, how does this great advancement in research and your findings in the science of redox enhance the correlation between autism and redox signaling molecules?
That's an excellent question. And yes, I've attended and participated in the Autism One conference for the last 3 years. If it would be all right, Maria, I have a presentation which outlines some of my involvement in the autism community. And it also gives an idea of what kind of research has been done and is being done to help to understand and to correct some of the features of autism. We will very much expect that Maria Campbell will be able to be with us. She has 3 autistic kids and is considered the expert, I believe, on autism. And so if that would be all right with you, could I make the presentation? And
yeah, please go ahead, Doctor. You're very much welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, very well. Thank you. This is a presentation that was given to the Autism One conference, and I believe it was 2015 or 2016. I can't remember or be sure, but it outlines some of the things that we were considering, you know, as understanding this disease and the progression and the pathogenesis of several of the types of problems that we're having. And you'll start to recognize or understand that possibly this is not even a disease or cannot be considered a disease. There's other types of conditions that are present in our society that may be contributing. But it is something that we need to address. The ASD, or the autism spectrum disorders, are growing exponentially every year, almost about 6.7% growth per year. You know, just to give you an idea, we're only growing 1.2 in our population worldwide % per year. And this represents an incredible growth rate. These statistics are taken from the CDC's data protection and actually very conservative. Here's an idea of what they mean. In the year 2000, well, in the year 1950, there's about 1 out of 20,000 children that were diagnosed as being autistic. In the year 2000, that had dropped to about 1 out of 148 children This year, we're in about 1 out of 50, or last year, 1 out of 48 this year. And if this increasing trend keeps on going throughout the years, in 2050, 20% of our kids will be autistic. In 2060, about 1 out of 3 children globally will be autistic. It's a pandemic type of thing. Now you start to understand, why in the world are we so interested in finding the reasons and the conditions that this exists? Why in the world is this growing? Is the ASD spectrum growing worldwide? And there are several factors that we can consider. Genetic factors. Well, there's a predisposition possible, a genetic factor that makes it more probable that a child will become autistic. But that doesn't explain the rapid and growth over just a few generations of time that we've seen. The environmental factors. That's possible because we see aggravation of the symptoms of ASD that are correlated to exposure to toxins and medications, and correlations to the symptoms of heavy metal intolerances and even nut intolerances and allergies and et cetera. They're correlated very closely to the possibility that a child is diagnosed with autistic spectrum. And it's kind of interesting to note too that the anti-inflammatory, let me say the allergies and sensitivities and intolerances also have been correlated very strongly. Well, let me give you an example here. In the latest publication that I've read, a child has 3 times increased chance for autism spectrum disorder if they have been birthed by a chemically intolerant mother, meaning someone that has allergies or is intolerant to, let's say, heavy metals or other types. And it seems as if the possibility or the probability that you have autism is carried through the mother to the child, which means that if the mother is intolerant or the mother has had certain intolerances to different toxins in their environment, the child not only has a much greater chance to have intolerances, and we're seeing that through allergies and nut allergies, for example, and intolerances to different chemicals that is growing, then the child has many times more, maybe 5 or 6 times more chance of being intolerant to these things. We've seen this through studies throughout the ages that when, for example, the mothers have mercury poisoning, even in small amounts, intolerable amounts, the children have many more times the chances of being intolerant to mercury. And I will not cite all of the studies, but it is absolutely true. So we may be talking about environmental factors that are causing these type of things. Now, we can get a little bit depressed about this because, if we see exponential growth and it's passed from mother to child, and there's more and more probability. By the way, diabetes is the same. If you're diabetic, your child has a 1 in 2 chance of becoming diabetic. And in fact, most people will have about a 1 in 2 chance during their lifetime if the diabetes epidemic is also growing. So we're starting to see things. The nice thing about this is that we can change our environment, and we can understand then maybe some of the environmental factors that are involved. And so we have seen an advancement in growth of knowledge over the last 5-10 generations that has been absolutely incredible. Now we have about 1.4 million articles that are being published representing 10 million months of science every month. We should be able to harvest that understanding to be able to combat some of the things that they're seeing in our environment. So the exploration, the scientific exploration of these frontiers is absolutely incredibly important. and the answers that we need for our future generations to live happy and normal lives is there. Scientists all over the world are now convening together to attack the problem of autism. There are many conferences all over the place. Autism One is the biggest conference, but it's certainly not the only one. In fact, as far as the scientists are concerned, it's even a fairly small one. The mothers also of the autistic children are probably some of the most motivated and wonderful people that you will ever see on this planet, that want to be able to find the solutions for their children so that their children can also live normal and happy lives. Millions of people are looking for answers, and they're becoming some of the most educated mothers that are around. I want to take a little bit of time to shamelessly plug what I've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years. We've been setting up a virtual science research institute whose mission is to build a community of scientists and others where creative synergy will fuel the global process. It's a virtual platform where ideas that we have can be shared and to thrive. It's accessible globally for everyone. It's ultra secure. It's safe space to share ideas and resources and privately develop ideas into projects and make collaborations, scientific and otherwise. And it's open to the public, or it will be open to the public, much different than proprietary institutions that we have these days that are like feudal institutions. You know, if you work for one of the private institutions, you have to give away all of your rights to your intellectual property and your ideas to that institution. And it only benefits the institution, where with the VSRI community, people and ideas all over the globe can be connected then in this ultra secure space in order to share ideas and projects and their resources. So it represents a new paradigm in the way that we can do science. The name of this platform is Atlas Blue. There's a lot of emerging possibilities in the last years. The big scientific conferences, for example, that we used to have to go to Amsterdam or Stockholm or places in Europe or in the United States in order to attend these large conferences. Now we're possible to attend right over the computer. And it's possible to do the collaborations and follow up right there from the computer. You know, you come home with a stack of cards and you wonder, well, what am I going to do now? And with Atlas Blue, you do have the ability to form collaborations and continue those conversations that you've had in these conferences. And just to give you an idea of what this means, what would you rather have in your living room? Would you rather have Michelangelo's David sculpture, which would be fairly impressive if you had that? Or would you rather have Michelangelo? Now, he's an old, ornery, heuristic, a very difficult person to deal with, but he's a person. He's a human, and inside that wonderful brain of his is all of the creations that he could possibly make. Atlas Blue is out there to capture the heart and the mind of the creators in order to be able to come together and to create something much greater. So there's my shameless plug for what I've been working with in the last little while. Let me go back now for to explain what the oxygen molecule is doing in our environment. It's a fairly new, oxygen is a fairly new thing, meaning that it only has appeared since life has been on the earth. And oh yeah, my wife says, make sure that they know that redox signaling is part of this. You understand as I go on that redox signaling is almost central to all of the type of investigations that we plan on doing. Oxygen can form different types of species called reactive oxygen species. It can be reduced believe it or not, you can oxidize oxygen. And the different types of oxidation states are oxygen, superoxide, and ion. As you add electrons, peroxide, you add another electron, you get hydroxyl radicals, hydroxyl, etc. And these types of free radical chemistries and these types of oxidation states of oxygen play very essential roles inside of our cells, inside of all of us. Ozone, by the way, is another form of oxygen, that, as well as water. Water is the reduced state, or the most reduced state of oxygen. And water is an incredible type of a molecule. I don't have time to explain all the science right here, but it's a polarized molecule that can form water types of clusters, little rings, which also form vortices and structures that are very important in our biology. So we are starting to understand what types of structures inside living cells really make us live, or give us the ability to live. The diverse and complex structures of life are there because of interconnected tissues. And these interconnected tissues are there because the cells are interconnected by communication networks. And these communication networks are formed by complex molecules. And all of these complex molecules then are communicating and living inside of a water and salt. Water and salt is the vital fluid for all life. In this water and salt mixture, and the oxidation states of the water that we've mentioned, which are the reactive oxygen species, and the salt, form the molecules that allow the cells to communicate. And like an orchestra, you need to be able to listen to each other in order to communicate the music one to another and to coordinate your activities. When they're coordinated, there's beauty there. Redox signaling is the medium that allows this communication to take place between the players in our cells. And the interconnected ocean of players allow us in all of our cells to coordinate activities and to carry on the wonderful orchestration of life that we have inside of ourselves. And it's all part of redox signaling. Some people are noticing this, one of them being James Watson, the person that realized the structure of DNA, And he says the chemistry of oxidation and reaction cannot survive without making both oxidants and antioxidants. There's a delicate balance between the two. And he believes that physical exercise that prompts the body to make these redox signaling molecules is the key for health. He's a pretty big guy in science. A lot of the big minds in science are also understanding the importance of this redox signaling, or the reactive oxygen species in the redox signaling networks that we have. And this redox biochemistry has applications in health, such as to reduce oxidative stress, to normalize the immune responses, to normalize hormones, to normalize brain chemistry. We've known this for a long time. I've been preaching this for years. To open the detox channels, to facilitate tissue repair, to facilitate damage detection, optimizing cell function. We recently, with the ASEA product, have found that there are genetic buttons that are pressed also that affect just these areas. Again, substantiating that we do have a redox signaling compound, a cell signaling compound. Getting back to autism now, what causes autism? It's a chemical imbalance, possibly, abnormal brain physiology, myelin damage, and liquid pockets are formed in autistic brains. It's the overstimulation of emotional centers. This is very interesting. Autistic kids are not quiet. They are overagitated. In fact, they'll have headaches and such things. We'll talk a little bit about neuroinflammation and the importance of this. The inflammatory processes actually create pressure in the skull, pressure that's so great these kids will bang their heads against walls in order to be able to relieve themselves of the pain that's caused by neuroinflammation. They're overstimulated to the point where they cannot even experience normal emotions. They can't look at their mother's face without getting overstimulated, and it's emotionally, or they can't react socially either. This abnormal pathology, in physiology, also extends into the gut. Most often the gut is inflamed, there's leaky gut, and there's a lot of irregularities in the good flora or good bacteria that grows in the gut. And these are some of the physiological things that we see with the autistic kids. And as we mentioned before, this is caused by runaway neuroinflammation and inflammation pathways that have run away in both the gut and in the brain. Just to give you an idea, the microglia in the brain are in charge of our immune system through sending cytokines to the mast cells. When these microglia see that there's a threat in the brain, they'll swell up like Hulk and start sending out a lot of these cytokines. And the cytokines then cause inflammation in the neurons, and the inflammation in the neurons then excite the mitochondria more, or the microglia more, and the cycle is complete, and it can run away. And in the case of many of the autistic children, the damage that's caused, the neuronal damage in the brain, it has been caused by a severe case of neuroinflammation that may have been instigated by a toxin. In many cases, people have found that there is immediate onset of autistic symptoms when they have been exposed to mercury, like a broken light bulb. These light bulbs have mercury in them now. Or they have been like the carpet adhesives that they have, or vaccinations that have mercury inside them, that after being exposed to these toxins, they, not having extreme intolerance of this, have runaway neuroinflammation, which causes the brain damage and overexcites the inflammatory process inside of the brain. The gut also there's a normal detoxification through the gut. Our gut lining has about a tennis court worth of area inside the gut. Of course, that's to absorb the nutrients that we have in our food, but it's also to get rid of the toxins. So toxins are conjugated throughout all of our cells through glutathione conjugation. This redox signaling process, by the way, helps to facilitate this glutathione conjugation and helps to pull the toxins out of our cells. Much stronger. These toxins go into the blood, are processed through the liver, and then pushed out mostly into the small intestine, and then are rid. When you have gut inflammation, however, that blocks many of the channels of this pathway. So the toxins that are agitating these children are accumulating in the blood. And if we use things to help draw them out of their cells, they accumulate in the blood. And the toxins that are able to make it out into the small intestine, if there's leaky gut, meaning that this barrier, or this tennis court sized absorption barrier, has holes in it, the toxins that get out into the intestines can then be reabsorbed right back into the blood, and they can't leave, causing more inflammation and more problems, and often you'll see this in the behavior of the children. There are different technologies that I've been come in contact with that help this, to be able to stop the leaky gut problems. Gluten intolerances, by the way, can also be caused by leaky gut, where the gluten is able to get through. I'm not going to explain this, but on the left-hand side, you can see cells before and after they've been treated with a carbon-based compound, which is sold now as Restore. And it seals up the leaky gut, and it doesn't allow the toxins to be reabsorbed, and or the gluten to be absorbed into the blood system. And so it can help with these intolerances, and it also can help drastically with getting rid of the toxins. This is very important, because the first step that we need in order to be able to help a child that has autism is to seal up the gut, to disinflame the gut, so that the toxins can get out of the system that are causing the aggravation of the symptoms. When the gut is able to be healed and settled down, and the detox channels are open, then we can use the different tools that we have in order to pull the toxins out of our cells in our body and get them into our blood. And the normal channels then can get them out of the body correctly. Very important. So a safe and effective redox complex also can be used to activate these detox channels in the cells and enhance the master antioxidants like glutathione peroxidase and superoxide dismutase to move and get rid of the toxins that are causing aggravation of the symptoms due to the toxins. Extremely well. So heal the gut first. When you get the gut healed, then you can start detoxing with these very sensitive, intolerant type of people, such as those who have in the autistic spectrum. There are oxidative therapies that are being developed. Ozone, photonic therapies, hydrogen peroxide, hyperbaric. All of these therapies, by the way, produce reactive oxygen species or help produce reactive oxygen species inside the cell. We know, of course, that there are available to us redox complexes that can directly then help us to renew or to replenish the redox complexes directly without having to go indirectly through the different oxidative therapies. The same type of redox signaling molecules that are produced by the mitochondria inside our cells, inside all of healthy cells, the same redox signaling molecules that become imbalanced when we have a damaged cell. And this imbalance is, by the way, the thing that causes the inflammation and that triggers the inflammation throughout all areas of our body. So what we need to be able to do is to be able to turn off the genes to repair the cells. This is what the body has to do. It has to repair the cells where there's oxidative stress. It has to repair the cells where there's inflammation. It has to repair the normal healthy cells and or kill those cells through a process of apoptosis. And if it's able to do that successfully, then we have healed the tissue. We've pulled out the toxins, we've healed the tissue, and this damaged cell can go back into be a healthy, normal, balanced cell. This redox signaling process is absolutely essential for this to happen. By the way, the latest genetic studies that have been run on the ASEA product have shown that ASEA can turn off the genes of inflammation inside our brains. It can also normalize the redox signaling that through hormonal response and other areas. So we have now tools that can do this and can help to reduce inflammation as well as neuroinflammation in all of our bodies. And these types of mitochondrial ROS that we have available to us now are required for tissue regeneration. I'm not going to go very much farther into this. I think that we ought to see if we have Maria on the line, and she can help us now, if that's all right, Maria.
Hello, Doctor. Thank you so much. We've got that was a fabulous explanation. Thank you so much, in particularly as to what ASEA and redox signaling molecules do to turn our genes on. We also, just as referenced as mothers of autistic children, can be very organized and very knowledgeable, and they're almost a group of scientists on themselves. We have got a fabulous mum here by the name of Maria Campbell. I'm going to allow her to talk. I'll promote her to panelist. And Maria is the mother of 3 children. And she has actually, there you are, hello Maria. She's actually been brave enough to put her face in front of about 440 people in the world, which is fantastic, to explain and share her experiences as to how she's lived with 3 children with autism, and how she's been able to deal with this, what she has done, and obviously she's part of the ASEA family as well. So without much further ado, thank you so much, Maria. We are looking forward to talking to you. So I'm just going to see if I can unmute you. Can you unmute yourself? There we go.
Can you hear me now? Hi.
You
How are you? Kind of cold here in Virginia. I'm Maria McCampbell, and I live here in Northern Virginia, and I'm a mother of 3 children with autism, ages 12, 10, and 6 years old, all different levels of the spectrum. We're a retired military family, and I'm an autism activist, mentor, and a health advocate in my area. I am currently an active member of the TACANAL, Talk About Curing Autism. I'm also a member of the Autism One conferences and of the Generation Rescue run by Jenny McCarthy, and also of the Thinking Moms Revolution. So I am a very active person. I'm also a participant in all 3 kids' schools. I have a child in private school, I have a child in public school, and I have a child that I homeschool. So I have a diversified program at home. I also am a spokesman for 3 products. I'm a spokesman for Desert Farm, just so that you know. I'm a member, a spokesman for Desert Farm Camel's Milk. I'm also a spokesman for Ionized Cleanse Detox Foot Bath. And I also must disclose, I'm also a spokesman for Autism Hope Alliance, nonprofit organization that brings education and also supplements free to homes to anyone in the US. I'm also a spokesman for New Beginning Neutrals. I tend to, when I find a product that works for my kids, I become very passionate for it. And as you can see, I'm a spokesman now for ASEA. And I also, when I feel passionate about something, I back it up, and I love to talk about it, and I become a member of an active community and displaying that product to anyone who wants to hear me. I do want to tell you that we have done it all. There is not one therapy, one supplement that we have not tried. We have done ABA therapy, play therapy, OT, PT, speech therapy, hippotherapy, which is horse therapy, dog therapy. None of the kids like the dogs. We have also done supplements, Dan doctors, then progressed on to MAPS. We have done pediatric GIs. We have gone to Johns Hopkins. We have seen the leading pediatric GI specialist in the United States, which is Dr. Andrew Krigsman in New York. And we have done almost everything you can think about. I'm very open to things. I research them. So if I haven't heard about it, I'm stumped. That's very unusual. Each 3 of my kids are extremely different. There's a saying, if you've met one child with autism, you've only met one child with autism. Each are unique and different, just like us. And each child I've had to treat separately and distinctively, and keep journals of what worked and what didn't work. I'm going to tell you, all our whole family's on ASEA. And I will speak to you about my daughter, who is Virginia, who's 12 years old. Now, Virginia was diagnosed at 2.5 years old, and it took me 8 doctors to finally figure out that she had autism. By that time, she had recurring ear infections, about over 12. By the age of 2, she had 12 ear infections, yeast infections, severe diaper rash, unable to sleep, croup. She went from a lovely eater to only wanted formula and Cheerios. And then on came chronic diarrhea. Then from there, from chronic diarrhea, because of the inflammation, we went to colitis. Then from colitis, we opened up a whole new pathway to parasites. And then it came self-injury, apraxia, sensory disorders, vitamin D deficiency, iron deficiency. And then because she was a picky eater, she started developed pica, which means that she would eat paper, cardboard, unusual things. So I was seeing many physicians, and I was taking their advice of the regular medical field, and I was suppressing her immune system. Later on, as I was attending seminars in the autism community, I realized from a lot of speakers that we are not to suppress the immune system. We need to heal the immune system. And that is one of the big things with ASEA. And when I started to knock out the medical and started going in with the supplements, the diets, I was able to actually put her Crohn's in remission. So I'm happy. She's 11 years old. I've stopped the Crohn's. She's starting to eat, and then in comes puberty. Puberty is a complete new ball game. Everything that you had done before is now out the window. So with the onset of puberty, what we happened to get was aggression that was spontaneous. 1 minute she was loving, and 1 minute she'd drop you down on the floor and scratch you. We also got seizures, front temporal lobe seizures that are very unpredictable and very hard to spot. But luckily enough that I went to one of the autism conferences and was able to be educated to spot what is a typical autism tic and what is a seizure. So I was able to get her a 24-hour EEG, and they were able to locate her seizures as front temporal lobe, which are not able to use medication for that. So we went to CBD oil. With the CBD oil, we were able to stop all of her seizures. But with the seizures also came other problems. We got regression. So all that work that I piled in and started at her name and her address and where she lived and reading disappeared. And so I was starting all over from page 1. So now I had an 11-year-old that could not read, could not remember her last name, and forgot that I was her mommy. So I'm doing my research, and I show up at an Autism One conference. And the luck it is, because there's a little bit of faith in every ASEA team member, that I was able to bump into the Samuelsons, and I was able to hear his conference about the redox signaling. I was a little skeptical, but anybody who knows Iris knows you can't get, she likes you for life. So she started talking to me about the redox and about ASEA, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. And I got back from the conference, and there, not even 2 weeks, was a box of ASEA. Maria, I hope your daughter gets well. Please try ASEA. So I started out slowly, like she said, and I started with 2 ounces in the morning. And I started documenting. And we have an ABA company at home who documents behaviors and programs. So like I said, she was not learning anymore. She wasn't reading anymore. She was completely aggressive, pre-menstrual, during her cycle, and after her cycle. So basically 2.5 weeks, I could not send her to school because I was afraid either she would get suspended or severely injure someone. So I'm documenting this, and not even on the first week of ASEA, her behaviors dropped 30%. I was like, could not believe it. And then she went from, what is your name, Virginia, to my name is Virginia McCampbell. And I was slowly gaining things. So I was like, well, if this is working, let me up it like Iris told me. So now I was using 2 ounces in the morning and 2 ounces in the evening. And this is like, I would say within 2 months. And now, you know, being a mom with autism, I don't see sometimes successes as quickly as other people because I'm so deep in the trenches that it sometimes takes an outsider to see it. And I have a clinic meeting for my daughter with ABA therapy twice a month. So we review programs, and they're like, Maria, what are you giving your daughter? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I giving my daughter? She's like, she is mastering programs. Her aggressions have dropped. She is more cuddly. And I'm like, really? So it's just not me imagining these things. And no, Maria, whatever you're doing, it's working. In the meantime, I had put her on a wait list for one of the top MAPS doctor, Dr. Jerry Criswell, who is an author and has facilities in California and Florida. And we were on his wait list because I had put this months before I had met Iris. And he calls me and he said, an opening, a cancellation. Can you see me? I'm dragging the whole family to Indiana because he has an annex office there. And we're sitting in there and I'm paying money to this doctor to see my daughter. And we're talking about her aggression. He goes, this is October on Columbus weekend. And he was like, where's your daughter's aggression in the worst? And I'm like, it was like premenstrual, during her cycle, and after her cycle, it was 90%. It was all day long, crying, scratching, screaming, upset. And he goes, okay, and where is it now? And I'm like, it's dropped 90%. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm giving her ASEA. And he's like, okay, Mom, that sounds good. Can you talk to me about it? So here I am talking to a MAPS doctor about ASEA. It was amazing. And also, I have to admit, CBD helped a lot. And also that I was using 2 other supplements that are help with anxiety, which are Neuroserene and Spectrum-8. And I also increased her magnesium because, as you know, all children with autism are deficient. Their minds need to be fed. Their body needs to be fed, and good nutrition. And when they don't eat, you need to supplement. So the doctor says, here is a beta blocker if you need it, but I don't think you're going to fill out this prescription. So we left the appointment with more testing to do, and that's October, and now we're in November. And we just had her second cycle, and we have no behaviors. We have no behaviors, and we sent a chart. You can't see it very well, but in her top, it's at the highest. And then all of a sudden, when you see ASEA is introduced into her life, it drops completely. We sent that off to Dr. Jerry, and he says, I love it. Keep taking the ASEA, and I want to hear more about it. So that is just one aspect of my daughter's life. But, you know, when you have a child in puberty who's aggressive, the first thing that they offer you are mind-controlling psychiatric drugs like Risperdal. And they have so many side effects, and they take away from who she is. I didn't want to go that path. You know, I'm not judging anyone who takes that path, but I wanted her to have a healthy, natural life. And that's one of our mottos in ASEA, is that we want people healthy and happy. And with ASEA, it's opened up her mind. So now she's just another child. She's taken an interest in music, which she had. She's dancing. And anybody who has a child with autism knows your child never plays with toys. Your child lines them up. And sometimes someone asks you, what can I give you for your daughter's birthday? And you're like, give me money for her therapies or supplements because she doesn't play with toys. Well, actually, I can say this year, you can buy her a doll because she's playing with dolls, and she sits with them, and she plays with them, and feeds them, and she sleeps with them. Not only she's doing it, she has her first friend in school. So my daughter's in 6th grade, and she has her first friend that she says hi to without being prompted. And every day they take the bus together, the same school bus. And when they get off of the school bus, she holds her hand and walks her to the classroom. So that is just amazing. And she's more tolerant of her 2 little brothers. She doesn't slam the door on their faces anymore. So that's another plus in our life. But Virginia is growing, and she no longer has regression. She no longer has seizures. She no longer has insomnia. We have cut back on her melatonin. No more melatonin in this house. And no more self-injury. When she would get upset, she would bite her finger till it bled. Well, now she has a beautiful healed finger thanks to Renew and ASEA. So her scar is going away. And that is just with my first child. My second child is also freaking amazing. He is a nonverbal 10-year-old, and he is now has fragment speech. So now he's putting 2 words together. He says, "That's cool. Yes, Mom. Yes, Dad." He also does like to say no. And he's asking for pizza, Pizza Hut pizza. And so we're getting 2 words, from no words to more words, and to an incredible education connection. All I can tell you is that once I healed my daughter's gut, I was able to break through. And what ASEA allowed is the communication. She was lacking communication. She had been fighting for so long, all these infections, the antibiotics, the gut, leaky gut, the inflammation, that once it started trying to heal itself, they were outnumbered, the healthy cells. And with ASEA, what it did is it just opened up her whole immune system to accept that goodness that ASEA does in communicating. And it got to her brain, it got to her hormones, and it just opened up her whole life. I can't be thankful enough for that meeting with Gary and Iris, and I'm so glad they live in Virginia.
Wow, Maria, that's just pretty amazing. What an amazing woman you are. And you know, your story and knowledge, it's just very inspirational, and it shows that the love of a mother has no bounds. And I don't know, you know, do you have time for yourself? I hope you do.
Occasionally, I slip away and try to go meet up with the Samuelsons. I do date night. Date night is required once a month. And even if it's to get hot wings and watch a hockey game, I will do that. But I find that the key in any relationship, or when you're battling any type of big thing, is communication. My husband is not my best friend. He's my teammate. We are teammates in this battle for life. We just want healthy children. And if we can have a healthy and productive child, then we've made this world less of a burden for everyone.
Oh, Maria, I'm lost for word, and I've got to say, I think on behalf of everybody, the 400 plus people that we have here listening to your story, to start with, to say thank you so much for being so brave and to come on board. And I know you'll be doing this again in Spanish on Friday.
Oh, absolutely. With a gringo accent, because I didn't learn Spanish until I was 13.
Awesome. Doing my club. And also, what can we say? It's Dr. Gary Samuelson. You have been an absolute instrument in so many lives and in so many people's well-being in so many ways. How can we ever say thank you to you? So thank you so much. We have got 400 plus people. We are now going to open the lines for questioning. I've got to learn how to do this. I'm sure I will. So if you bear with me, perhaps Dr. Samuelson, he's also very clever with this program. But we're going to do our very best to answer the questions. We cannot take any more chat questions, as it has reached its capacity, so we cannot even answer them or see them. So if I could actually say to you, if we miss your question, if we don't get to see your hand up, please get in touch with your upline, and they'll give you some clarity and find the information and guide you to where you can get some more information. Dr. Samuelson has a fabulous blog. I will put that on the, well, I can't put it in the chat, so I better give it to you now. So it's www.drgarysamuelson.com. This recording will be on that at the end, once we have it all tidied up and everything. And we're going to get all the questions. Now, just before I open it to questioning, can I just ask you, because it's being recorded, that all questions are compliant? What I mean by that, please describe the condition. Do not mention the condition's name. raise your hand. And as we got over 400 people, please make your questions brief. And finally, ASEA and Renew are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any medical condition. Please keep that in mind. So now I will do my very, very best to open the question to Dr. Gary Samuelson. And Maria, are you okay to take perhaps just a couple of questions if you have to?
Of course, I'm happy to. And if you're in the local Virginia, tomorrow I am co-chairing the TACA Now, Talk About Curing Autism support meeting. So I'm a very active member in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And if not, you can track me on Facebook. I'm more than happy to answer your questions.
That is awesome. Thanks so much. If you said Hava, is that correct? Did I mention that name? Did I pronounce it okay? If I didn't, please, apologies.
Sahaba, thank you.
The question is addressed to whom?
To Maria. You answered the first one. The first one you answer, it will be posted. But Maria, how is it to give your children the ASEA? Is it hard because they have autism, they don't like taste? And that's the direction my question is.
Well, tell you first of all, you have to go with the mindset that they're going to take it. I do not present any negativity when I'm giving any type of new product to my child. So I go with a positive mindset. If you think it tastes bad, they're going to see it on your face. Just like when you feed a baby peas and you're like, you don't like them, and you're like, oh, eat your peas. Well, if you don't like the ASEA, like, take your ASEA. It's making you better. So I go with the outlook of like, kind of like a gratitude outlet. You're going to take your ASEA because it's going to make you better. So sometimes I use a syringe. You can get them free at the pharmacy. You can ask your local pharmacy. You can even order them online on Amazon. And I take it because I know it's sterile. I only use it for ASEA. I pull it up, I get to her mouth, and I say, take your ASEA, and I squirt it in her mouth. Then I know exactly she's finished it all. I tell her to open her mouth. She goes, it's gone. So that's one great way. There's also techniques on YouTube that you can find about giving medication and how to also teach yourself on how to get supplements into your child. Does that help?
Thank you very, very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Are you able to unmute your phone, your microphone?
There she is.
There she's got. Lovely. Thank you so much.
Hi, Maria. For Maria.
Lovely.
I wanted to know if you had to heal your daughter's leaky gut first, or if the ASEA aided in that. And also, my 15-year-old non-verbal son, what would be a suitable dose for him? He's on 1 cup a day, like 1 shot glass.
2 ounces?
Is it 2 ounces? Yeah.
I would start gradually.
Like I want to race in there. I'm feeling like I want to race in his room right now and give him a second dose for today.
Well, I started gradually, and you have to understand that you're going to have a kind of like a die-off. So I was getting good and I was getting a little bit of the bad because it's a new introduction to their autoimmune. So you have to understand that they've been fighting so much that when you start opening up new pathways, you're going to release different things. So you're going to get a little bit bad before you get better. So you have to hang on for that. It's just like a relationship. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
If you stick with that, it's going to be really good. Now, I healed her leaky gut before I introduced ASEA.
Right.
But it did improve. It did improve her stools. With my second son, who was nonverbal, and I would say, does your son call you mom?
Yeah, look, his speech has got a bit better over the last couple of years, but he's been on the ASEA for about maybe 2.5 months now, and his speech is incredible just in that short time.
So he's no longer nonverbal. I would call him pre-verbal, or that he has fragment speech. Because once you get some type of language and you still call your child nonverbal.
Well, I've called him semi-nonverbal because I didn't know what to call him, but I knew he was no longer
I would say he's pre-verbal and he has fragment speech. Because if he's able to call you mommy and say yes and no and tell you
yes,
he has fragment speech, and you definitely need to embrace that and be proud of it.
He
Because-
started asking questions, requesting things, telling me when he's not well. Like, we've had massive changes, but I've stuck with the recommended dose for his age on the bottle, but I'm wondering if I can double that, even triple that.
I would double it. I would not triple it that, because that's a
Okay.
lot for the immune system when it's still working on healing the gut. That's a shock.
Okay.
That's like someone putting 3 shots of tequila in front of you.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And that's how you have to think of ASEA. It's a shot of health. And when
Yep.
you have a poor immune system, that's a big, overwhelming thing. It's like getting
Yep.
an IV drop of vitamin C. So you want to start
Yes.
slowly. And you also want to document the date that you started the second dose,
Yep.
and mark it so that when you talk back to the schools or his ABA therapist or his OT therapist or speech therapist, you can document the progression.
Yeah,
So if
I've been documenting for sure. Yeah.
Well, then that's fantastic. You sound like you're from Australia.
I am, yes.
Okay, if you got a leaky gut, take that camel's milk. I'm telling you,
Okay.
that is fabulous. You have
Okay.
you have first of all ASEA, which is
Yep.
increasing your glutathione. And the
Yep.
other 2 ways of getting glutathione are greens and raw milk. And what has
Okay.
happened, as you heard Dr. Samuel saying, we have a world of contamination of glyphosates, and which
Yep.
causes our leaky gut. And is he using an enzyme?
No.
He should be using an enzyme.
I struggle with, I think more so now because of his size. He will stand up to me and refuse a lot of things. The camel's milk was a suggestion a couple of years back. We sat on a waiting list for a long time and didn't get anywhere. But that's definitely something I'll look back into.
Yeah,
He's never had blood
Perth has a
work.
huge-
I've actually got one in the next town from me, believe it or not, like 15 minutes away. There's a camel farm.
We'll make sure they're organic. But
Yeah.
I would also get him tested. You could do simple lab work. I would do vitamin C level. I would look at also his vitamin D, if he's vitamin D deficient. That's a very common factor in children with autism who have leaky gut, because they're unable to absorb. If you
Yes.
don't, if you have a leaky gut, you can't absorb your nutrients. So basically,
Right.
you're giving supplements that he's just dropping. So
Yeah.
what ASEA helps is kind of like the carrier. It's like the wings, but it can only
Rightio.
do so
Yep.
much. But you know,
Yes.
you can grind supplements. I've snuck them in. I've bribed.
Oh, I can get him into him. The other, like I do, he will take a tablet now, which is great. The one thing I've had trouble with is nobody will do. He's never had blood work since he was about 3 years old. It took 4 doctors in the children's to hold him down, and everybody just passes me off. Nobody's prepared to do his blood work because he's basically gonna go off his rocker. The
how
doctor
about if
won't
you give him
do
a
it. The
sedative?
pathologist. Sorry.
We did a sedative. We did like one time. You see, now my second child, he just got lab work last week. He sat down in the chair for the first time. It did not require 5 people to hold him down. He
Yeah.
sat down after to see it, and he put his arm out. He put
Wow.
his arm out. Drawn.
That's unreal. Yeah.
Okay, thanks,
You need to
Michelle.
try it.
That's awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks,
Just
Maria.
Michna, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. There you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
My son is high
Who's the question
functioning.
for? Sorry, who's the question for first?
For either the doctor, is he still around?
Yeah, he's
Or-
still with us, doctor.
Okay. My son is high functioning. I homeschool him, and we started with ASEA 2 months ago, and he was taking 2 ounces, and then I worked him up to 5 ounces twice a day now. And I feel like I still don't notice the difference. Our trouble right now is sleep and concentration. He's highly social. He's doing good in understanding math, but when reading, his mind just, he can't concentrate for too long. I was wondering if I should back off on the SIA or should I increase it?
Well, how old is your son?
He is 13. He's going to be 13 in a few days. And I'm also, you know, I'm wondering if the puberty is kicking in. So I don't know what to do, whether I should reduce it or increase it or stay with it.
Well, I'll have to check with Maria, but I believe that the 2 ounces twice a day is usually just sufficient. So he doesn't really need to take up to 5 ounces twice a day. And you have to be a little patient too. You'll see a little bit of gradual increase, and it's certainly doing well. Have you been able to heal the gut?
I think so. We're still off the gluten. I don't give him gluten. I don't give him a dairy or even soy. Just because I'm like, he doesn't really need them anyway, but he's pretty good at eating his vegetables. He's very adventurous with food. He likes to eat all kinds of food. His bowel movement is regular every day.
Good.
The only thing I've noticed since I've been giving him a SIA is, this is going to be TMI, but there's like little pellets of poop and then a big one.
I don't, maybe Maria can answer that.
Well, basically what happened is that he was holding old stool, and what it's happening is it's pushing out.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
But I would highly recommend, when you think you're healing the gut and you don't follow up with stool cultures, you really don't know. I constantly am doing on a 6-month basis stool cultures, checking for inflammation, and that any pediatrician order on you. Also, when you're looking at reading, it's very common that children on the spectrum have learning disabilities, have different ways of learning. Maybe your expectation is a little high for him right now. He is entering puberty and his emotions are going to be unbalanced. So as you brought up the ASEA, he's going to have to readjust his hormone levels. And he's also going to find himself, if you know what I mean. So I would definitely look into doing a little bit more of education about the approaching puberty. And
yeah, he reads books about it, so we talk about it. So
I mean more about you and how you're going to have signal words to tell him that's inappropriate, what is appropriate behavior, where do you go when you need to touch yourself.
Yeah, we touch all that stuff.
Well, that's fantastic. You're very proactive.
Yeah. And then, so you think the doctor mentioned Restore? Should I try that along with ASEA, or?
Well, yeah, absolutely. My second child does take Restore. No, excuse me, my first child takes Restore. My second child can't take it because he's on an artificial enzyme.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely. Restore is great, and you will see progress with that.
Okay.
Because we're in a contaminated world. You can't fight it. And they are just, our kids are just sponges. And if you look up on Autism One conferences, and you can get access to all of the videos and seminars that they had for the last 3 years.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mitzpah Michna. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly. Now we're moving, we're still a little bit close at time. We still have 4. Johnson. Russell Johnson, are you there? I found you. There you go. Now, we don't have a lot of time, so go for it.
Sure. My question is for the doctor and Dr. Samuelson. And the question is, have you seen results with ASEA in helping genetic challenges, people that come in with genetic challenges?
In genetic challenges, you usually have deficiencies. The genes that are not functioning create deficiencies inside the body, inside the cells. And those deficiencies then are symptomatic. They cause the symptoms that the person experiences. Now, if you're able to, for example, enhance the deficiencies or compensate for the deficiencies using supplements, and ASEA is an important one, using ASEA for the deficiencies in oxidative removal, like antioxidants and et cetera. So if you have deficiencies in antioxidants, and many of the cellular pathways are blocked because there's oxidation or oxidative pathways, you clear those up, and then all of a sudden, now this is so very surprising to me. I didn't expect it. It's something just completely unexpected for me, is that people that did have deficiencies due to genetic problems had improvements, and at times very vast improvements. And I was asked myself the question why, and as I studied it out a little bit more, I realized that it was helping to compensate for the deficiencies surrounding the genetic problem.
So the good genes are waiting to express themselves. They just don't have a way of doing it. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Well, let me put an example out there. It's a lot easier. Suppose the gene is broken that creates glutathione. So you're getting less of a glutathione or less of an antioxidant action. It's very important in your body, right? Right. Well, ASEA then enhances the action of glutathione. So even though you have less glutathione, it's more efficient, it's more active. And so the little bit that you have compensates, it helps compensate for the genetic deficiency. Now, obviously, it's not going to make the genes function again if the genes are missing. But what it can do is help the body to compensate for those genetic problems.
It's so interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We can't hear you. No.
Thank you. Thank you. Suzanne Grease. We have Suzanne Grease. Are you there? There you go, Suzanne. All right, go ahead, Suzanne. Welcome.
Can you hear me now, Maria?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. My question is to Dr. Samuelson and also to Maria. If you have somebody, say, around about 36, 37-year-old that has been nonverbal basically since they've been one, are you of the belief that if we can get them onto ASEA, that they may become verbal?
I would not say actually, what do you mean with expectations of verbal? Because I consider my son's fragment speech. Are you looking for fragment? You might get fragment speech. You might get sentences, not complete a cure, because you already have a damaged autoimmune system. But I definitely think that you could get it, but you also, we don't know too much. Does he have leaky gut? Does he have any other type of ailments? Because the other types of infections or diseases that he has take effect of how quickly the ASEA is going to work.
Thank you for that, because this is a friend of mine who I have been a little bit reticent to come forward with the ASEA because of her belief that what she has done is right and all the alternate stuff is not relevant. But having listened to what I've heard today has just opened my mind so much that now I've got a conversation that I can have with her if she's willing to listen.
Well,
he has been non-verbal. There's a grunt now and then, but basically non-verbal. Basically non-verbal.
That's a shame, but there's always hope.
It is.
And I see all the time, I've seen adults improve their health, improve their quality of life. And that's the most important thing. And I think sometimes what people need to realize is be shooken up. What's going to happen when you're not here? Who's going to take over?
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you very, very much for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Suzanne. We have got one more question with Anna Soberanis, but where are you, Anna?
Hello, I'm here.
Hello. There's your pretty face. How are you?
Hi.
What is the question for?
Good evening. My question is for Dr. Samuelson. And it actually doesn't have anything to do with autism, but it has to do with, my mom has been taking ASEA for a little over a month now. And she kind of had I don't know, she didn't really know what was wrong with her. She just knew that she had, you know, pain in the stomach. Sometimes she would get awful diarrhea. She would, you know, just couldn't eat. She thought it was gastritis because that's what she had been told. But she is now in the hospital because we found her on the floor, you know, blood everywhere. She had just been vomiting like tons and tons of blood. So I wanted to know if this could be because the ASEA is cleaning her out. They did an endoscopy and they told her that she had about 21 healed ulcers and one that, you know, wasn't healed. But I don't know, you know, if I should stop giving her this. We don't want to stop giving her the ASEA because we think, you know, it's a good reaction, but I'm not sure. I'm very new to ASEA.
Yeah, Anna, first of all, I wanted to just say that we're very sorry that you have to go through this. It's not an easy thing. And then we also want to let you know that the ASEA will help the body's own mechanisms to help clean up where the body isn't necessary. It sounds to me that there are some other factors involved, and you need to be able to find what those factors are. There's a reason why she's getting ulcerations in the intestine. There's a reason that there's some problems there that need to be solved before you can really start a great program with the ASEA. And I'm glad you asked that because, you know, with the autistic children, ASEA is not the end and all solution.
Right.
You need, and you've heard it from Maria, you know, you need to be able to look at some of the root problems, and they can be the diet, and they can be the things that you're putting into your body.
Right.
They can be chronic infections, and in this case, it sounds almost as if there is a chronic infection, and the body's trying to clean it up. But I can't be absolutely certain about that. It could be also that there's a great deal of detox taking place where the body's trying to get rid of things through the intestines. But there are other things that need to be addressed at times before the body's ready to take on a ASEA. And that's true for an autistic child too. I would suggest that you get rid of the gut problems as much as you possibly can before you start taking a ASEA, and then ASEA works so much better in the body.
Okay, so I guess my question really is, should we continue to have her take the ASEA? And if so, what should her dose be? She's currently doing 2 ounces in the morning and 2 in the evening.
And how is she doing now?
Right now, they gave her a blood transfusion, and she's been on Protonix for the last 24 hours. So she's doing a lot better. Like I said, I believe, like you said, it is, you know, it was kind of a detox and her body's trying to get rid of everything. But she's a lot better right now. But I just didn't know if we should continue with the ASEA, and if so, you know, how much, or to cut back. That's kind of where we're at.
If she's tolerating 1 to 2 ounces, I wouldn't go much above that, you know. So you may cut back a little bit, but you need to be able to find out, first of all, what the root problem is down south, and that should help a great deal. Normally, though, with a lot of patients, the body can heal itself, but diet really important. Do you have anything to add on to that, Maria?
Yeah, I think it sounds like H. pylori, which is very common in Hispanic families from where the water is and from things. It starts out with ulcerations and then completely bleeds when it's undetected. And that a lot of doctors ignore that. And it's very common in Hispanics and also in the Middle East and even in the DC area because we store our water in the Washingtonian area underground. It's in the dirt. It's in the bad dirt. Not the
Thank you very much for that. I cannot, by the way, I wasn't my opinion too, but I can't say it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
No,
but that's just
that's
my
fine.
opinion.
You can, I can.
I had that. So living
Yeah.
in Ecuador, I got that. So it's very common living in a rural country.
Right.
What was it
it's
called?
H. pylori.
Well, look, it's now 1:21. You've all been very, very patient. It's been an amazing webinar. Dr. Samuelson, what can we say? It's just, you're just an inspiration with your research, your work, and everything that you do. And obviously, I mean, this is, Maria, one of many people in the world that are benefiting from your research. And Maria, what an inspiration you are. As I said, your Facebook page is about to actually grow by the thousands. So if you could just give us your name. I do apologize. I was given your name has been Maria Campbell. Is that
Yes,
correct?
it is McCampbell. That's my married name.
Right, right.
McCampbell.
So what is your Facebook page name, if you're happy to give it out now?
Yes, I am. I'm under Maria S. Corral because I was single longer than I was married. So
It's Maria, and can you spell the last lot
like
of
the OK Corral, Corral.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Maria. I appreciate it very much for your time.
No, thank you, Maria, for letting me be part of your home and in everyone else's home. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. God bless to both of you. And then, look, Dr. Samuelson, would you like to add a few more words just to finalize this, this amazing webinar? We would like to actually have some closing words, perhaps.
I am so incredibly blessed to have people of this caliber to be by my side and helping out in all areas. I feel that I am probably the most fortunate person in the world to be involved with this. And I hope that we understand that we're in a cause that's much greater than us. And that the world needs these solutions. I hope that we understand that we have some of them that we can offer to the world. As far as that, it's not a cure. It's not something that will mediate or prevent, but it is something that will help the body's own processes to become more efficient and to work as they should and give us the best life that we can, given the circumstances that we have been placed in at this point, and that's what we can offer. And I'm so grateful for you all who have taken place in this, and that's all I can say. Thank you.
Dr. Samuelson, thank you so very much on behalf of the 400 plus people that were on this webinar. We too are very blessed to have you in our lives, and thank you for being part of our journey and creating this amazing base for us, or journey of healing and well-being and community collaboration for all of us across the world. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to everybody. Again, please keep in mind that ASEA and Renew are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, medical condition. Dr. Samuelson?
Yeah. One last bookkeeping thing. If you would please save all of the chat comments for later use, and then we can use those later. Thank you.
Also, this webinar is being recorded. It will be tidied up a little bit, and then it will be posted in Dr. Gary Samuelson's blog, which again is www.drgarysamuelson.com. So in that, thank you so very much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Good evening, good night, good afternoon. Bye-bye, Maria.
Bye.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.